Hi, everyone. Welcome. Tonight I'm joined by Tamarind of Azure Photography, and we're going to be talking a little bit about her upcoming, or actually, I believe it's already launched, her new course for the APNPI Academy, which is Essential Newborn Poses. Hi, Tamarind. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Very good. Good way to spend an evening.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in photography.
So I actually started in photography probably when I was about 16, which is a really long time ago now. So
No,
I won't age myself too much. But anyways,
just a few.
it was over half my life ago. Well over half my life ago. But and I worked for Black's Photography for a while when I was in high school, which was really fun. And one of my favorite things to do was actually to work in the print lab.
Yeah.
So I got to take people's negatives and do all that fun stuff with it. And so that was really, really fun. And then I started my business in 2013 when my daughter was 6 months old. And I just thought I wanted to try this thing. And instead of being scared and not doing it, I thought, well, what would I want her to do? And I would want her to take a risk. So I did. And here we are 8 years later.
So sweet.
Yeah.
You still, when you were at Black's, did they use developing fluid because it would have been negatives, right?
Yeah, it was negatives. And there was a big machine. So you'd have to I can't remember. We had to attach them to these plastic cards that had these little things down the middle, and there was this special tape, and then it would develop them. And then there was a big printing machine, which was really fun. And I would have to go in.
Was there a smell? I'm asking.
Probably. I don't remember anything alarming, but
so I used to back in the day. My mom actually not at Black's. She worked at out of a professional studio.
Yeah.
Not that Black's isn't professional.
Oh no, it's not. No.
Sorry, Black's. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But she worked in the dark room, and I used to I can still, and it was obviously so long ago, I can still remember the smell of that fluid that they would use. Anyway.
Okay, that's so neat. Yeah.
It was neat. But very different from what we do now, obviously. And I think I'm glad for it because yeah. So when your clients seek you out, why is that? Why do they hire you to take their newborn or family photography photos?
That's a really good question, and I wish I knew the answer. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm just lucky. I honestly think that because I've been around for a long time now, I've been doing this in Guelph for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I've worked with enough families that it kind of just spiders out, and that my name is just familiar to a lot of people. So that just creates a comfort level in clients who don't know me. So
for sure.
I'm guessing that's probably 80% of it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and obviously your beautiful work is obviously another reason that they would.
Oh, there's that. But sometimes I wonder if clients notice that the same way we do,
hard to say.
Yeah. I think sometimes
some do, and some, really make the point to tell you that they hired you because they looked at everybody and they loved your style, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit of both.
Or you just fit in their budget.
Or their friend told them to go to you, whatever.
Yeah.
Potato. No. I'm sure it definitely does help them to know that you've been doing it for as long as you have, and your work is proof of that. So your APNPI Academy course is entitled Essential Newborn Poses. How did you decide on the poses that you're going to be teaching?
So this was kind of easy for me. Certainly the first 3 poses that I'm teaching were I do these poses in every single newborn session. And a few years ago, I was, what's the word? I did IPS. So I didn't pre-sell packages. So it was really interesting to see what images clients chose and to watch them choose and why they chose the images that they chose. So based on that, there was so many poses that I cut out completely because I just found they never got chosen. I would spend so much time trying to do them. And then it would just feel like a big waste of time. Unfortunately, womb pose or taco pose, whatever you want to call it, is one of those ones.
Really?
Yes. I found clients would never choose it. And I was like, so why am I frustrating myself over this?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the first one that aired yesterday, the head on hands pose, I find is a huge favorite with clients because you can see the baby's face like straight on. And then having the body trailing off in the background, like I talked about in the video, there's a lot of ways to kind of adjust that if your clients aren't comfortable with complete nudity. So you can still do the pose, but not have the baby completely naked or even like in an outfit. Cause I don't know about you, but I hate putting babies in outfits because it always wakes them up. So
yeah, absolutely.
So,
and then they're stuck in this outfit and you're like, now I want to take it off.
Right.
Or do I just cover it? I was always of the, I will just cover it mindset. But it's really great that you've actually already addressed that you've some the poses that you're teaching, you're also sort of going into how you could modify those. Which
I think that's
so fantastic. Important.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it really extends your gallery and then you get like bang for your buck out of that pose because once you've got them into it and you've perfected it, you really do want to make sure it's not just, okay, click, click, I'm done. I spent half an hour doing that, just to get to that point. So awesome that there will be that versatility there for people. I really like that. For those that will be taking the course, what are they going to learn? Like what poses are you going through?
Okay, so so yesterday head on hands was posted. So there's that one. I think bum up is the next one. If they're doing them, if they're releasing in the same order that I filmed them. And then so head on hands, bum up, side laying, which there's a bit of a cheat to as well. Because I actually find that pose is extremely difficult.
I agree.
There's no gravity weighing the baby down. So
and then the minute they like jitter out of it, you're like, lost the pose. Yeah.
And if you got a baby with like a pretty wicked startle reflex, they're just going to lay on their side like that. Like it's going to be really tough for them. So I've got a really handy cheat that I've thrown in there as sort of a halfway there. So if you have those tough babies, then you can kind of get that pose. So it's something different for the family, but you haven't really done a whole heck of a lot. So, and then I did bull pose, so shooting from above in a bull, which is also really versatile because you can shoot baby awake in it, which I've done for my last several newborns. I call them geriatric newborns because they were pretty old.
Right.
Lockdown babies, right?
Yeah. All that backlog of clients that are wanting their newborn photos.
So that's another great one. And then the last one is like a modified potato sack pose.
Okay.
Obviously, potato sack pose has some safety concerns. So in order to kind of get a similar look, but in a really, really safe way that is actually quite beautiful. So I've done that pose as well. So those are my 5.
Awesome. And interesting that you said earlier too, those are sort of like the 5 poses that you find are your best sellers. So that's fantastic. And always something that we should be mindful of when we're shooting is it's still a business as much as we love it. And bottom line is still important. So we often hear newborn photographers talk about their workflow. These poses that you're going to be teaching, are they going to transcend nicely into a workflow for the people taking the class?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Certainly the first 3, it's literally the exact order that I shoot them in all of my sessions. And then the second 2, I always just kind of work them in wherever it makes sense because you got a half wrapped baby and then a fully wrapped baby. So depending on where in the session you are, if you've got a fully wrapped baby, then you can work the modified potato sack pose into that part of your workflow. And then if you're unwrapping and you can kind of do like a half wrap and work in the bowl pose, and then thinking of similar poses that would go along with that to kind of transition baby is another great idea as well.
Awesome. I like that. It certainly will help people conduct their sessions as well, nice and fluidly, and going with the flow is always a good thing, especially with the little newborns. They like it too.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to struggle. You don't want to fight them. It's not worth it.
It's demoralizing, I swear.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
What's one thing you wish you knew about newborn posing earlier in your career?
Oh. So a couple of things. One of the things that, okay, a couple of things that came up for me pretty early on. I remember having a really tough November, probably in like maybe my second year. Mm-hmm. And it became very evident to me that I needed to know how to deal with awake babies.
Right.
So as much as learning all of these wonderful, very sleepy newborn poses is great, I actually think there's a lot of value in learning how to deal with fussy babies, awake babies, babies that are gassy, like, because that's probably going to be about 75% of your clients. Right. Unfortunately, right? It's the reality of the situation. So yeah. I think knowing how to deal with those would really benefit anybody. And the other thing that my first mentor actually taught me, who happens to be Corey Michael. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that she said to me that stuck with me and still sticks with me is to learn one pose at a time. Oh. Which is why I love that I've done this series where you're literally focusing on one pose at a time, because that has been huge for me. I'll obsess over one pose until I get it where I want it to be, and then I move on to the next one in my head. It can get really overwhelming trying to like figure out, a whole workflow and like all these different poses all at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome. No, I think it's so true. You may know, or people watching may know, that I've worked or had in the past a lot with Stephanie Robin, mm-hmm. and one of our big, well, it's really hers, but I've taken it to heart now, is the get it in, you get it and then you perfect it. So yeah. Yes. That's and there's a huge science to that. And and I don't mean like the physicality of doing it. I meant more like the mentality of doing it, like learning that one thing, getting it, and then you perfect it, and then you can move on. And whether it's, starting out just learning the pose, or even carrying that philosophy through to your sessions as well. So awesome. I like how it's been broken down. So that should be easy for people to do a nice learn along with. What excites you about newborn photography right now?
Oh gosh. That's like a really good question. Oddly, right now I'm enjoying the challenge of it. As much as it's very frustrating, like obviously going through lockdowns and not being able to shoot and then having older babies come, there is something really, I've sort of gone into my last 4 sessions with like 5, 6, 7-week-old babies, very sort of like, okay, like, what am I going to do here? How am I going to make this work? Mm-hmm. And I got to say, the last 3 that I shot they were pretty tough. They were awake, but they were also like not happy. Like they were really fussing. And while there's not a lot I can do about that, knowing how to like sort of get through it, and how can I still try and get some kind of a gallery so that they don't have to come back.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. You don't want that, and they don't want that. Let's be honest, right?
No, not at all. Nobody wants that.
Well, it's good though that you obviously have such a deep toolbox from which you can sort of pull out your tricks and your various poses or techniques to sort of navigate yourself through those tough scenarios, because they can be. And yes, certainly when you have older babies, but it can happen with like 5-day-olds, 7-day-olds just as easily.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They're just maybe not as strong. And then every now and then one of them really throws you for a loop too. And you're like, that is not natural for a baby your age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lastly, like, what do you hope that students taking your course are going to walk away with?
I really hope that they walk away with, first of all, the confidence and the excitement to try it if they haven't. And or if those poses that I'm teaching are just not where they quite want them to be, I really hope that they can get some little tidbits that sort of help them go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I'm going to try that. Because sometimes I know for me, I've had that like moment where I'm like, oh, it's that's the thing that I'm missing. And then I try it and I'm like, oh, yes, now it looks how I want it to look. So I would be so excited if even one person got that out of it. That would be amazing.
I'm sure it will be more than one. You know what you're doing. No, I think it's a great way to start the academy, a great way to kick off learning if you're new to learning about photography, especially. But even I think seasoned photographers, there's, like you said, there's always little tricks and tips that people do differently that you might not do, that you can learn from always.
Oh,
so
of course. Yeah.
Lifelong learning, I think, is such an important thing. So
Me too. Yeah.
yeah, I really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
And I look forward to your the rest of your course, which again is Essential Newborn Poses. And the first, what do we want to call that? First episode, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's an episode.
Yeah, sure. You have a TV show now. Why not? Episode 1 is out now.
My TV show.
And the rest are coming. So that's fantastic. All right. Have a good night. It was great speaking with you.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.